All right, all right, all right. Hey YouTube, I'm Lucky, and in today's video, I'm doing a complete ranking of all the hand cannons that are currently in Destiny 2 that are not sunset, specifically for PvP. Yes, you heard me right. I'm going to be ranking all the weapons, every single hand cannon that you are using right now, specifically for PvP. And if this video gets 2,000 likes, so smash the like button, I'll do another one specifically for PvE, because it's very important to like diversify the two. For example, like the 7 Serif Officer Revolver. Inside PvP, probably one of the worst hand cannons. Inside PvE, it's actually one of the best hand cannons. So in order to put that on the ranking list here, it would just feel so awkward because it's like, how do I weigh that, you know? So instead I want to do specifically PvP hand cannon rankings across the board, all hand cannons. For legendary weapons, we're going to be ranking the god rolls, and for exotics, we'll just be ranking them as they are, of course, except for Hawkmoon, which has random rolls. But that aside, we're going to go through all of the exotics now, and we're going to go through alphabetical order. So let's go ahead and get started here. Right off from the rip, we've got the Ace of Spades. Okay, the Ace of Spades is a 140 RPM hand cannon. Pretty solid. It's got Momentum Ori. It's got Firefly. I like the Ace. I think the Ace is a cool weapon overall, but in the current meta right now, I really don't think that Ace holds up that well. So I am going to put the Ace in the A tier category. Let's go ahead and put this here. Put the Ace in the A tier category. Whereas if the meta were to shift a little bit, if the 120s were to get nerfed a little bit, I would put Ace actually in S tier. So keep that in mind. Next up, we have the Ancient Gospel, which is another 140 RPM hand cannon. But this hand cannon is acquired through the Garden of Salvation raid. It actually has some pretty good rolls on it for PvP, surprisingly enough. You don't see this thing in PvP that often, but it has kill clip, and it only has 4 perk options. Okay, it only has 4 perk options in both slots. So slide shot, kill clip is amazing. Rapid hit, kill clip, also amazing. And it can even come with rangefinder. This weapon is actually really, really solid. As for 140, I'm very torn on whether or not I want to put it in the B tier or the A tier. I'm actually feeling like putting it in the A tier simply because the rolls are so good on it. And I know that'll feel really weird, and a lot of people will be like, what the heck? I never see the Ancient Gospel, but I'm telling you, the Ancient Gospel is nothing to laugh at. It's actually a pretty good weapon, given the perks that it can roll with. Next up, in alphabetical order, we have the bottom dollar hand cannon. So the bottom dollar, of course, a 120 RPM, can be acquired through Gambit, and I will be putting the bottom dollar in the S tier simply because the god roll of the bottom dollar can just be absolutely insane. You have so many different perks you can roll with. You've got Healing Wind, which is classically an insanely good perk. You've got Rangefinder you can go with. You can get Quick Draw, Slide Shot. The perk pool on this weapon is just amazing. It's got Rampage on it, so you can get 2 taps, which is really, really important if you're using these 120s. Just overall, the bottom dollar with the right roll is insane. Now, getting that god roll is a whole nother thing, right? That might be hard to get, especially with 12 perks in each slot, and you have to play Gambit, which, you know, not a whole lot of people want to play Gambit, let's be honest. So the bottom dollar is going in the S tier category. And next up, we have the Criminal's Dagger. Now, this is an Iron Banner, another 120 RPM hand cannon, and you can't actually get this anymore, which is definitely a little bit infuriating. But if you did have one from Season of the Arrivals, you actually have something that's actually really, really beast. And I will have to put this weapon in the S tier because of the rolls that this weapon can get are actually really, really crazy. On the Criminal's Dagger, you can get Kill Clip yet again, which, again, I'll keep coming back to Kill Clip, because Kill Clip is just such a solid perk for PvP. 1 kill, reload, 30+% damage boost, 2 tapping people with a 120. I mean, this thing is nuts. This thing can just do so much. It's a real workhorse. It can also come with Snapshot, Rangefinder, and Kill Clip combined. I mean, some of the rolls on this Criminal's Dagger can be insane, and I'm super, super jealous of the people out there that have Criminal's Dagger, because I deleted all of mine. I heard about sunsetting, and I deleted all of mine. And I don't know what I was thinking. I'm mad. I'm angry at Bungie for the sunsetting thing, because I actually ended up deleting my Criminal's Dagger, and I had a roll that had Outlaw Kill Clip too. What was I thinking? I don't know. It hurts. It hurts. But Criminal's Dagger is definitely going in the S tier category. And then next up on the list, we have the exotic hand cannon pulse rifle hand cannon. Oops, let's close that down. Exotic hand cannon pulse rifle hand cannon, which is the Crimson. Now, the Crimson, not the best overall on PC, mouse and keyboard. You don't see it a whole lot, but on console, it is definitely a really, really solid weapon. And in the Destiny Trials report, in the meta reports that I actually report, this weapon actually does hang really solidly with a lot of other weapons. So I am going to put this in the A tier. And if you're on PC, you're like, what the hell are you talking about? This is going to go in the A tier right now, because it's actually a really solid weapon. And I do see people using this, especially on console. And I'm trying to weigh things appropriately for console and PC together. So keep that in mind. The Crimson goes up there. Very strong weapon. And on to the next one, we have the Dire Promise. Really excited about this one. This is a weapon that I have actually purposely put in a ton of time with. Dire Promise, a 140 RPM. Used to be a 150. Was really, really strong. And the rolls you can get on this, the best roll, the one that I prefer to use, is Snapshot Rangefinder. And this weapon is just all around super solid 140 RPM hand cannon. And again, they're a little bit far away from the meta right now, so the 120s are definitely going to outstomp the 140s. But as far as 140s go, the Dire Promise hangs in there with some of the best of them, especially because it's a legendary and can get some pretty good rolls on it. So I will put the Dire Promise in the A tier personally. Maybe I'm a little bit biased. Let me know in the comment section below if you think the Dire Promise is worthy of that. But I think the Dire Promise is actually really, really nasty. So next up, we have the Arias Vow. So this one's kind of a weird one to actually pull up because it's an energy hand cannon. So let's do this. And it being an energy weapon makes it quite different from the others. And honestly, you know, overall, I think it's just a really big workhorse. Easily one of the best for PvE. But again, this is for PvP we're talking about. With a variety of different builds like empowering rifts and stuff like that. And you can swap from this weapon to another weapon. You can easily destroy people. And I've seen people just absolutely decimate others inside PvP with Arias Vow. So I am putting Arias Vow in the S tier category. Because if you use this weapon and know how to use this weapon right, it is unbelievably lethal inside PvP. Next up, we have the Fatebringer, which has just recently come back to Destiny 2, the Vault of Glass 140 RPM hand cannon. Now, I'm not going to be too much of a hater, but the Fatebringer is probably not the best hand cannon overall for PvP. I would almost put it in the B tier, but I do think it does belong in the A tier because it does have kill clip and killing wind. And if we're going to compare it to, you know, the Guard of Salvation hand cannon and compare it to the Dire Promise, I think it's definitely up there. But these 140s are definitely not the best compared to these 120s in the current meta. And one day, if the 140s get buffed or if the 120s get nerfed, the Fatebringer and some of these other 140s will definitely shine way, way more. And now next up, we have the Finite Impactor. Okay, the Finite Impactor is this newish reprised Iron Banner hand cannon, and the rolls on it are actually pretty bad. All right, they're actually pretty bad. It can get killing wind on it, which is all right. It can get ire reach, but that does mess with the stability. So you probably use something like elemental capacitor or maybe multi-kill clip. Either way, the perk pool on it overall isn't that appetizing. So I'm actually going to put this will be the first weapon I put in the B tier category, is the Finite Impactor. And of course, this is after testing all of these weapons, trying them out in PvP, in PvE, trying out the new perks that have been updated recently in Destiny 2. And this is where I want to rank this weapon. So that's where that goes. Next up, we have one. This one's going to be a bit controversial, okay? We're talking about the Hawkmoon now. And this might be one of the only 140s that I will put in the S tier category, because the Hawkmoon is just so nasty and such a workhorse. It is very hard to say that the Hawkmoon is not S tier because of how good this weapon is. And again, I try to keep things pretty solid to the meta. You can get rangefinder on this weapon. You can get killing wind on this weapon. And even hipfire grip. It just recently got buffed. It's actually really, really good on the Hawkmoon, believe it or not. Hawkmoon with hipfire grip. Don't laugh at it. Don't knock it until you try it, okay? Trust me when I'm telling you. Hawkmoon with hipfire grip is not half bad. So Hawkmoon's going in S tier. Next up, we have the Igneous Hammer, the regular one. The regular Igneous Hammer, 120 RPM, Trials of Osiris hand cannon, can roll with Rampage. My favorite weapon, one of the best, one of the most popularly used weapons. Definitely going to put it in S tier. It's hard to put it up here, though, in some ways, because I do also want to put the Adept version up here, so I'll put these both up here. And I'll just put these on top of each other. There we go. You can see that. They both go up there at the same time. All right, so we got both those up there. It counts. It's the same weapon, right? I wanted to put them separately, but overall, they pretty much just go together. Next up, we have one that's going to be very interesting, okay? The iClose hand cannon. All right, this weapon is a PvE weapon through and through. I mean, using this thing in PvP is rough. It has subsistence, triple tap, slideways, threat detector, genesis, and one column, and in the other column, disruption break, vorpal, rampage, eye of the storm, and high impact reserves. It really does not have any good PvP rolls, and it is the worst archetype and least used archetype, the 180 RPM. This will be the first weapon that I put all the way down in the D tier category for PvP. And if you disagree with me and you absolutely love this weapon, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I'm not trying to hate on your weapon. It's just not that good though, okay? It's just not that good. All right. Next up, next up we have the Lumina hand cannon, the exotic 140 RPM. This weapon is kind of slept on a little bit. I actually kind of like this. Unfortunately, the playstyle that it comes with tends to not be that popular, tends not to be that common, and mostly people are looking for fast-paced gameplay, not for healer-style gameplay. So I will put this currently in the meta, in the B tier category. You know, if you have to rip me a new one in the comments, feel free to do so. But I just don't think that the Lumina hangs up with the current meta. I know that the new boots for Warlocks work really, really well. I think they may have buffed it or changed that actually recently. But if they still works with the new Warlock boots, I know that works well. But overall, the Lumina in the current meta really doesn't hang that much. I'm going to put it in the B tier category. You don't see it very often. And when you do, it definitely just doesn't seem to hang that much with the best weapons in the game. So there. I put it in the B tier. Next up, we have the exotic hand cannon, the Malfeasance. Now, this is a hand cannon that you get from Gambit, another 180 RPM, which these 180s, I mean, I hate to say it right now, but in the current meta, these 180s are just, they're beat, okay? They're beat. The 120s are just so much stronger. The time to kill, the ease of use, etc., etc. The Malfeasance does have some nice perks added to it, though. With its, like, explosive slugs, it tends to be a little more forgiving in its ease of use. So I will put the Malfeasance in the C tier, not all the way down in the D tier, okay? Hate me if you want, but that's where I'm going to put the Malfeasance. Unfortunately, those 180s do need a buff. Next up, we have the Nation of Beasts, not to be confused with the nature of the beast. Nation of Beasts, nature of I can never remember which one's which, okay? This is the Last Wish 140 RPM hand cannon, though. This actually can get some pretty good rolls, okay? Don't be laughing at my Nation of Beasts, okay? It can roll with kill clip and for PvE, which we won't talk about too much here, but it can get explosive payload too, which it's hard to get this weapon with explosive payload, but it can get that. So it can have kill clip or rampage, and it can have outlaw, opening shot, ambitious assassin. Ambitious assassin, not so good, but opening shot, outlaw would be really nice. This weapon, I'm debating, okay? I would put it in the B tier or the C tier, but because it can roll kill clip, I'll put it in the B tier. That's where I'm going to put it, all right? Now, I know you might be thinking, what are you talking about, Lucky? Are you smoking meth, amphetamine? The Nation of Beasts? I've never seen anyone use that in PvP. Okay. I know you may have never seen anyone use it in PvP, but it's not bad in terms of the perks that it can get and the recoil and everything. It's got 95 recoil, pretty high aim assist. It's not a half bad weapon, okay? It's not half bad. Maybe give it a try if you don't like it or if you haven't used it in a while. Next up, we're going with the Nature of the Beast, which is it almost sounds like the other one that we just talked about, except it's not at all like that one. Okay. The Nature of the Beast is a 180 RPM hand cannon, which is that archetype that's just, it's rough to use. But this one, it's rough to use, but it does have some good perks on it, okay? It's got rangefinder on it. It can roll with snapshot, hipfire grip, and quick draw on the other slot. So it's not half bad in terms of perks, but overall, these are brutal to use. And I will put this one in the C tier category this time. And I'm sorry, I feel like all these 180s are getting absolutely beat up, and I try to use these weapons from time to time, and they're just tough to use. These 120s are just too strong, in my opinion, and these 180s just get thrown by the wayside. But maybe with time, we'll see. Next up is a 140 that I am going to show some love to, and that is the Palindrome. The Palindrome can roll with some really cool PvP rolls. Quick draw, rangefinder is one that I like to use quite a bit. It's going to be a tough choice for me here. I'm obviously not going to put this in S tier. I mean, let's be real. It's good in PvP, but it's not S tier good. A tier, I might put it there. B tier, I almost want to put the Adept version in A tier, and then this one in B tier. And that's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to put the Palindrome in the B tier. Hate me if you must. And I'm going to put the Adept Palindrome in the A tier because the Adept one is really, really good. And it has the best 140 stats overall. And if you're going to put any 140s in here, you should definitely put the Adept Palindrome. And it's almost kind of a shame that the Ancient Gospel, the Dire Promise, and the Fatebringer in here with the non-Adept version being here. I mean, that is a bit of a mismatch overall. So maybe I should put that there. But you know what? I'm going to stick with it for now. And I'm going to say that the Adept Palindrome, at its very best with the God Roll, is an A-tier weapon. So, and we'll move on from that one. Even though the base Palindrome is actually still really, really good. Next up, we have the Posterity. So the Posterity is a 180 RPM hand cannon. and it is from the Deepstone Crypt, and it is not meant to go into PvP. I'm telling you, this thing is not meant to go in PvP. It can roll Rampage, it can roll Opening Shot, and Reconstruction can give it a big magazine, it can get Killing Wind, and can get Rapid Hit, but this thing is not a PvP weapon. It does actually have some decent PvP perks, but overall, I'm going to have to put this all the way down in the C tier yet again. This poor posterity, I'm sorry. It's actually one of my favorite weapons for PvE, as a side note, but alas, not meant for PvP. And here we have, next up, the 7 Serif Officer Revolver. Such a good weapon. I mean, literally, this is S tier in PvE, but this is for PvP again, and the rolls this thing can get are atrocious, and it's a 180. Oh my gosh, it's hard to even look at the perks it can get. Okay, and perk slot number 1, just to give you an example. Threat Detector, Ambitious Assassin, 4th times the charm, Firmly Planted, Pulse Monitor, and Underdog. Those are all terrible perks for PvP. In the second column, Feeding Frenzy, High Impact Reserves, Multi-Kill Clip, Vorpal, Timed Payload, and Osmosis. I mean, yikes. Just yikes. I'm putting this in the D tier. For PvP, you should not be using this weapon. If you are using this weapon in PvP, you are likely throwing. I am sorry, but that is just the truth. Next up, we have the Steady Hand, the Iron Banner 120 RPM hand cannon. So good. And I hate to have to give so much love to these 120s, but I mean, in terms of meta usage, this is obviously up there in the very top. I mean, this weapon can roll Quick Draw Snapshot, which is like my preferred roll. Can also roll Slide Shot in the Quick Draw slot, or Killing Wind, which are both amazingly good, and Swashbuckler if you're looking for 2 taps. So the Steady Hand, of course, an S tier weapon, one of the best hand cannons in the game. Next up, we have the exotic hand cannon, the Sturm. Now, the Sturm cannot 2-tap with its current, it doesn't have any sort of damage boosting perk, but it does have really amazing handling. And I kind of like this hand cannon, and it is easy to get, but I will put this will be the only 120 that I will put in the A tier category. And you can hate me if you must, but it really doesn't hold up with the God Roll, Bottom Dollar, or any of these other 120s, okay? It just doesn't hold up in the current meta as being an absolute S tier. It needs to have Rampage or a damage boosting perk as an option, because those are just so strong, especially if you're using it in 6s or if you're using it in trials even. It's not a bad weapon. It's probably better than most 140s, even the God Rolls, but it's definitely not as good as those other 120s that we've been talking about. Next up is going to be a very controversial one, the Sunshot. The Sunshot is such a unique weapon now. It's the only 150 RPM hand cannon in the game. And that's pretty crazy, which means it gives it a crazy time to kill. It actually doesn't have half bad range. And this is going to be a very hard one to categorize. I mean, I can't quite, in good faith, put it in B tier. I feel like it should go in A tier. It should go in A tier, but it's tough because you just don't see it that often. I'll put it in A tier this time. It's going in A tier this time. And hate me if you must, but that's where I think the Sunshot belongs. If you haven't tried it in a while, give it a try. If you can hit your headshots with that thing, it is nasty. One of the strongest weapons in the game. Next up, we have the Survivor's Epitaph. Another 180 RPM hand cannon recently brought in this season. And this weapon, unlike the other 180s, actually can roll some dank perks. It can roll with Kill Clip. So you can get Rapid Hit Kill Clip. You can get Tunnel Vision Kill Clip, which is really nuts, especially if you're on controller. You could get Killing Wind and a variety of other perks that you want. I mean, this weapon is actually really good. And I will put this as the highest ranking 180 RPM hand cannon for PvP. The Survivor's Epitaph goes in the B tier category. This is like the Not Forgotten, but the Walmart version of the Not Forgotten. So, next up, we have the Thorn hand cannon. Ooh, now this is going to be a tough one. The Thorn is actually such a good hand cannon. Its exotic perk has made it so strong. Its return to Destiny 2 makes it very good in the game. I'm going to put the Thorn all the way up here, and looks like we're running out of space here, so this is going to get a little bit awkward towards the end, but I'll adjust the graphic later. The Thorn is going in the A tier. Thorn is super strong. I don't care if it's a 120 RPM meta. Give the Thorn a try. It is nasty. Oh, this one is a controversial one. The Last Word just recently had a hipfire grip buff. Console players absolutely beaming with this weapon. The Last Word in the current PvP meta is easily S tier. If you argue with that at all, just get out of here right now. Just get out of here right now. The Last Word is an S tier hand cannon, and it's not a 120. It's probably the only one that's one of the very few that's not a 120, and it is nasty. Next up, we have the true prophecy hand cannon. Now this can roll with rangefinder rampage, so we can get nasty 2-taps from across the map. It does suffer from poor handling and poor reload speed, but overall it's a 120 and it's a beast, and I will put this in the S tier category. Still S tier because it's a 120 and still so very strong. All right. And the very last hand cannon is none other than the Waking Vigil. The Waking Vigil has gotten beat up a lot recently because it does have very poor range, but it does have some really cool perks. Overall, though, it would be unbelievably impossible to put it in this category, especially with the Palindrome being here. I almost have to put the Waking Vigil down in the C tier category because of its poor range, but I won't. I won't do it. I'll put the Waking Vigil in the B tier category. That's where it goes. I think that it still has great perks for PvP, even though it does lack a little bit in range. Its perks are pretty nasty. It can roll with slide shot, snapshot. You can get kill clip on this weapon. I mean, it's very hard to argue that the Waking Vigil is trash. Some people try to say that, but I really don't think that it's trash overall. I do think that the Waking Vigil is a B tier weapon. Now, everything is done. These are all the hand cannons currently in the game that are not sunset. Let me know if I missed any. I like quadruple check to make sure I didn't miss any, but I could have missed some. But these are all the weapons currently in the game that are not sunset. Obviously, exotics don't get sunset, but let me go over all of these to make sure that I am 100% convinced that all of these are exactly the way they should be. So here we go. We've got the bottom dollar for sure. Criminal's Dagger for sure, S tier. We've got Arias Vow, of course. Hawkmoon, I definitely stand by that. Obviously, the Adept Palindrome has to be in here, and the regular Palindrome. Steady Hand, yes. The Last Word, yes. And True Props, yes. These are S tier weapons. I mean, these are, you put this weapon on and you are performing at most optimal range, especially with God tier, God rolled weapons. You're performing really well in PvP, or at least to the best of your abilities. Next up in the A tier category. All right, we've got the Ace of Spades. Such a good weapon. Its perks are really well good for PvP. And then we have the Ancient Gospel right here. I mean, this one, I would go back and forth with maybe putting this in B tier, but I do like its perks, and I think that it might belong more in B tier looking back at it now, but, you know, it's there in A tier, and I'll keep it there for now. The Crimson, very good, especially for console controller. I'll leave that in A tier. The Dire Promise, such a historically popular and good weapon. I will keep this in A tier for sure, especially Snapshot Rangefinder roll. Very good. Fatebringer has some pretty good rolls, and I'll keep that in A tier for now. It is a new weapon, so a lot of people are really just excited for it being new. The Adept Palindrome, definitely I'm leaving that in A tier. Very strong weapon. Not quite S tier, in my opinion, but borderline. I mean, if there was a tier in the middle of S and A, Adept Palindrome would be right up there. Sturm as well would be right in the middle between S and A because it is a 120. It's kind of hard to take any 120s and put them in the A tier because they're just so dominant. And then we got Sunshot. Sunshot definitely belongs in the A tier. I feel very confident about that. And the Thorn definitely belongs in A tier. I feel very confident about that. The Finite Impactor actually has some pretty bad perks on it, and I will keep it confidently in the B tier. The Lumina, I kind of like the Lumina's playstyle. I think it's unique and creative, and I almost want to put it in A tier, but overall, in terms of true meta, it does belong in the B tier. And the Nation of Beasts, the Last Wish hand cannon, honestly, this belongs in B tier, maybe even C tier, but I'll leave it in B tier for now. And then the Palindrome really could hang with these other 140s, especially Ancient Gospel and especially Fatebringer. The Palindrome could definitely hang up there, but I'll leave it in B tier and let the Adept Palindrome stay one tier above it because I think that's a little more fair to the classing system that I have set up here. And then the Survivor's Epitaph, definitely the best 180 RPM hand cannon, and definitely belongs in B tier, and is not bad at all by any means. And then we've got the Waking Vigil, which is probably one of the worser 140 RPM hand cannons, so I'll leave it in the B tier. I think that's fair. And then we have the Malfeasance here. The Malfeasance is one of the better 180s, but 180s are 180s, so yeah, that belongs there. We've got the Nation of the Beast, I believe, and that's another 180, and does have some pretty good perks on it, but yeah, that belongs there. Posterity from the Deep Stone Crypt belongs there as well. We've got the iClose hand cannon, which definitely belongs in the D tier for PvP, dear God, and the 7 Serif definitely belongs in D tier for PvP. So, okay, cool. So there it is. That is my final ranking system. Let me know in the comment section below, do you agree with my rankings? Do you think that these are an accurate representation of the current PvP meta in regards to hand cannons? I await all of your responses. And again, if this video gets more than 2,000 likes, I will redo this video, but specifically looking at all of the god rolls for PvE. So make sure to smash the like button. and make sure to subscribe with notifications on if you want to stay up to date on all things Destiny 2. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Later.